Coach, officially a match week for you guys now. What's the vibe out here knowing that match day is getting closer?
Well, I would say the vibe is good. I think they're ready for the game. You know, it's an interesting week because you're missing a bunch of guys. A couple guys trickled in today. You know, more will come tomorrow. So it's interesting. But the guys that have been here certainly are ready to play.
Looking back at your guys' recent playoff history with Dallas, and there's a lot of it.
Yeah.
And the 2016 game kind of stood out because you had that burst at home where you scored the 3 goals in that quick succession in the second half. And from the outside, it kind of felt like that was the moment that, oh, this team could really go and make a really deep run. Was it like that for you? Did you have that same feeling? And what do you remember about that game?
Well, I remember the 3 goals in a short amount of time gave us some breathing room. I would say that the goal that Nelson scored against Sporting KC had just as much influence in that playoff series run, just because that was the first. And it was like, oh, okay, you know, we're moving on. And then yes, the series against Dallas, you know, we had played them the year before. I think that was the year we lost in penalties. So that was a big turnaround for us. The game down in Dallas was hard though too. I remember Tyrone, you know, stealing a ball, playing it across, and we ended up losing 2-1. But that was a hard game as well. Those were good. Those were some good matchups.
And you had been named full-time head coach around that same time, right? So I would imagine that whole stretch was kind of emotional for you.
Yeah, emotional, but a bit of a blur. I mean, when I reflect back on it now, it's you know, seems pretty incredible. I mean, the way the guys came together. You know, Ozzy leading the charge, Rahman in there, and the locker room scenes. I mean, there were a lot of good storylines within that group. Tyrone, I mentioned Tyrone. I mean, he never got a ton of press, but that one goal down into, I think it was 2-0. Then we get to 2-1. You know, so a lot of good storylines about how guys really came together, and you know. You need that to win a championship. You need guys to believe that they can win, which I think was one of your questions. Did they believe after that 3-0 that they were invincible? I think they had a lot of confidence after that game.
Sure.
How important is it for a team to have patience when another team tends to play physical? You know, kind of focus on your plan and not get into the physicality that can take you off your game?
Well, I think the messaging for this group, you know, I can talk about that a little bit, is I always try and say, just leave the refereeing out of it. You know, we don't control that. You know, obviously it's the playoffs. There's that kind of playoff type of, you know, do the refs let a little bit more go? Is it more physical? Do they want the players to decide games? You know, that's where the referees have to earn their paychecks and keep the game in check as far as, you know, not having a football game manifest itself. I don't think Dallas is anywhere close to one of the dirtiest teams in the league. The last game up here certainly was a physical game, but I didn't think it was out of, you know, like way out of proportion. That's number one. Number two, the messaging is, you know, we have to, you know, play hard. We understand that it's going to be a physical match, and being physical doesn't always mean, you know, shoulder to shoulder, anything like that. It means working. It means closing a guy down, using your legs, your thinking, your defending skills to make it a physical game as well.
And how it's got to be comforting having a veteran team in terms of the communication when a guy goes to that spot and the other guy covers. You know.
I mean, look, the coaches are still working here with some of the guys. I mean, we've done a good job all year with the team. I think the process that we've had in place since day one has been good. You know, we don't change. We do the same thing. Watch a little film today on Dallas just to get them going. You know, talk about the training plan. You know, the whole week will be geared to specific things we want to work on in preparation for Dallas. So I think it'll be good.
Speaking of Dallas and watching film, they had a striker who you guys didn't see during the regular season, scored a big goal for the Czech Republic. Just your thoughts on what you've seen from him, limited though it may be.
And a couple of assists last game, so he's obviously feeling confident. You know, it was good for Jordan to go and score a bunch of goals and be really effective in our game, the U.S. game. So anytime a forward is, you know, feeling confident, that always gives you cause for concern. We certainly have enough film on him that we can, take a look. The center backs can take a look, and we'll try and slow him down. But he's certainly a quality player.
Back to instilling belief in the team that they can win. Is that something that you do collectively to the team as a whole, or is that individually that you like to do that?
Both. I mean, that message today, I don't know what you guys read, but, there's some articles out there saying about, Dallas hasn't had a good record here in Seattle and, all that. My guys read that. So I'm like going, don't pay attention to that. And I asked them, okay, why is that? Why don't they have a good record here? Let's focus on some of those things as to the why, not just so they don't become complacent. Oh, it's his home game, so we're going to win. We can't have that. So it's the messaging is starting. It started last week. It's starting now. These are the playoffs. You can throw previous records out of it. Just leave the referees alone. Let's go play how we know we can play, and that gives us the best chance of moving on.
Health-wise, how's the team doing?
Good. Victor was in I know what you're asking. Victor was in 3/4 of training today.
That's good.
And if he gets to full, that'll make a smile on his face.
How has Nico grown as a player since he's got here?
Since he's gotten here? Mm-hmm. Well, I think he was already a pretty accomplished player when he got here. He just influences players by his professionalism, how he works, how he trains, a lot of those little details. So he's been great.
How important is it for you to now have, obviously, the ability to have so many veteran voices in that, Roman Torres as well, someone who typically comes up big in big moments?
It's going to be critical. That's the one thing that Dallas has a younger team. Obviously, Hedges has been around, forward, Ziegler. I mean, they got some guys that have some pretty big games under their belt, but, it always helps when you have a little bit of a senior team. You mix in a couple young guys who can do all the running, Jordan, Christian. It always helps.
Brian, what is it about this team? I mean, you've embodied this since you got here, about always, never, was still in the game regardless of the score. I mean, where did that come from? I'm sorry to get all philosophical, but it's a trait you have, and you get players that do that.
That started a long time ago. This franchise has been successful for many years. My personal storyline is, look, when I took over in 2002 with the USL team, there was always a pretty good team there. I mean, you guys remember we had Brian Ching. We had some players that were very, very talented pros. And when MLS came around, the guys we brought in mixed in with some of those USL guys, mixed in with the Aussie signing from Charleston, just the group, Casey Keller. I mean, we had guys that wanted to win and knew how to win from day one. So it's easy for me to keep those flames going because they were already there in the first place.